there, welcome back. I've written a lot about the profound power of loneliness and belonging. Belonging is a fundamental human need. From our hunter-gatherer days to our free Amazon Prime days, the more advanced we become, the more important the human connection has become. When we feel supported and connected, we're better problem solvers, we're more resilient, we're actually able to cope more effectively with difficult times. The most famous study of the effect of belonging was the case of Roseto, Italy, which gave birth to the Roseto effect. Now, Roseto is a small quarry town in Italy, about 100 miles from Rome. Now, for centuries, the people there worked in quarries, and they lived a very tough, meager life. But in January of 1882, 11 Rosetans, 10 men and 1 boy, set sail for the United States, ultimately found their way to a little town in Pennsylvania called Bangor. Now, the next year, 15 more followed them, and the trend continued. By 1894, more than 1,200 Rosetans had joined them and settled in America. They bought land on a rocky hillside near Bangor. They built a church and a square and a school, and they established the American town of Roseto, since all of these members shared the same origin and, more importantly, that same difficult journey to a better life. Now, this small group of people would have lived in obscurity had it not been for a local doctor who encountered Dr. Stuart Wolfe, who happened to be in town for a convention, but he was the head of medicine at the University of Oklahoma. The two doctors discussed the unusually low rate of myocardial infarction in the Italian-American community of Roseto compared with neighboring areas. The two closest towns, Bangor and Nazareth, were both about the same size as Roseto, and they were populated with the same number of European immigrants, but the death rates in both cities were more than 3 times that of Roseto.
What's up with that? I have no idea.
Now, this was in the late 1950s, before everything we now know about cholesterol and all those measures that we can take to prevent heart disease. So Dr. Wolfe was so intrigued by what the local doctor was telling him, he pulled some students together and colleagues, and he set up this research team. And they looked at death certificates and health records, and they even did some real-time examinations of the community members. They found that in Roseto, virtually no one under 55 had died of a heart attack or showed any kinds of heart disease.
That's weird, right?
And for men over 65, the death rate from heart disease was roughly half of that of the US as a whole. Beyond that, there was virtually no suicide, no alcoholism, no drug addiction.
Wait, what?
These people were not living clean lives, eating organic, trans, fat-free meals, doing yoga, and drinking their 8 full glasses of water every day. They fried sausages and meatballs in lard, and they ate salami and cheeses that were chock full of cholesterol. They smoked old-style, unfiltered Italian stogie cigars. They drank wine, lots and lots of wine. And the slate quarries they worked in were both hazardous and dangerous. So with all that danger, fatty foods, stogies, and wine, what gave the Rosetans such protection from heart disease and premature death?
This I gotta hear.
Researchers found that it was the way people lived together. Regardless of income and education, the Rosetans lived like a big family, and there was no demarcation between the socioeconomic divides. Those who had more money didn't live above everyone else. They patronized one another's businesses almost exclusively, even when there were bigger, better stores in nearby towns. Each house they studied contained 3 generations. Families were very close-knit. They were self-supportive and independent, but they also relied on others for support and assistance during really difficult times. They took care of one another. They were unified and connected. In essence, they had created a powerful, protective, social support structure that insulated them against the stresses of the outside world. Now, the Roseto effect is defined as a phenomenon by which close-knit community members experienced a reduced rate of heart disease. But when you think about it, it's so much more than that. It's also lower rates of other diseases, less mental health issues, less crime, more support from family, greater sense of community, more trust, less loneliness. Fast forward several decades, and investigators found a very different community. There was large-scale suburbanization of the entire area. Single-family homes, fenced yards, country clubs changed the landscape. Now, to find out how this impacted the social ties and ultimately this oasis of health, you're going to have to check out my recent blog post.